Hello, my name is Suyan Somnarine, and I'm an instructor here at Ultimate Medical Academy, here with a lesson to help you with this week's content. In today's lesson, we're going to be going over the reproductive system. We're going to be describing and going over some of its functions. Before we get into the system, let's go over some of the reproductive system facts. The reproductive system is a collection of internal organs and external genitalia that work together to generate new life. The female reproductive system is made up of a number of different parts, most notably the vagina, the uterus, and the egg-producing ovaries. The male reproductive system, on the other hand, consists of the penis, the scrotum, and the testicles, as well as various internal accessory organs such as the prostate gland and the seminal vesicles, which produce most of the fluid that makes up the ejaculate. Human cells come in a variety of shapes, sizes, and carry out a different range of functions. But the largest and smallest cells in the human body are both gametes or reproductive cells. Males produce the smallest human cell possible, which is the sperm. It's about 5 micrometers by 3 micrometers in size, not including the sperm's tail. By comparison, the red blood cell is about 8 micrometers in diameter, or about a tenth of the diameter of human hair. So your red blood cells are bigger than your gametes. A huge difference exists between the number of gametes men and women produce. At birth, women have approximately 1 million to 2 million eggs, but only about 300,000 eggs will be left by the time puberty hits. Only 300 to 400 of these eggs will be ovulated before menopause. Each man, on the other hand, produces more than 500 billion sperm cells in his lifetime. During ejaculation, a healthy man can release up to 1.2 million sperm cells. Now, that's more gametes in a single moment than a woman can ever have. So, after that introduction, let's quickly go over these facts. The reproductive system contains the largest and smallest human cells. The vagina has something in common with tomatoes. They're both acidic. A female can have 35 babies in a lifetime. Female ovaries contain about 2 million eggs. Only approximately 300,000 make it until puberty hits. The lifespan of an ova, or the egg cell, is 12 to 24 hours after being released. A sperm can live up to 36 hours within the uterus. A female uterus is 3 inches long, 2 inches wide. It expands 20 times this amount during pregnancy, and it is one of the strongest muscles in the female human body. The functions of the reproductive system is to accomplish reproduction, the creation of new life. Another essential function of the reproductive system is to manufacture hormones. For females, we have the estrogen and progesterone, and for males is testosterone. Starting with the female reproductive system, the ovaries. The ovaries are the primary sex organs of the female. It functions as an endocrine gland where it produces estrogen and progesterone, and as an exocrine by releasing the eggs or the ova. It's supported by the ovarian ligament, the suspensory ligaments, and it houses the female gametes, which are your eggs, inside of follicles. Ovulation, this is the ejection of the gametes from the ovary. Now, the ovaries are not directly connected to the uterus. Instead, there's fimbriae that create fluid currents that wave the egg down the fallopian tubes and into the uterus. The fallopian tubes. These are not directly connected to the ovaries. The space between the ovaries and the tubes is the reason that sexually transmitted diseases such as gonorrhea can spread outside of the reproductive system and cause inflammation such as PID or pelvic inflammatory disease. The fallopian tube has 4 parts. We have the fimbriae, which are the finger-like projections that help to wave down the egg as it gets released from the ovary. It gets waved down into the fallopian tube. The infundibulum, that's the expansion at the beginning of the tube, and it helps to move the egg down. The ampulla, that's the widened area of the tube, and the majority of the fertilization takes place in the ampulla part of the fallopian tube. The isthmus, that's the last point of the tube, the narrow end, and it connects to the uterus. So most fertilization occurs in the upper third part of the tube, and then it implants within the uterus. If the egg implants in the tubes, it's referred to as an ectopic pregnancy, and because the tubes don't contain life support, cannot support the growing uterus. It can be very dangerous, such as rupturing can occur, and which can endanger the mother's life. The uterus, that is the muscular organ that measures approximately 3 by 2 inches, and it extends and expands up to 20 times this amount when a female is pregnant. It is found between the bladder and the rectum, and this is the site of the implanted fertilized ovum, as well as where fetal development takes place. The menstrual cycle. We start with the follicular stage or the follicle stage. FSH. FSH, or follicle stimulating hormone, is secreted from the pituitary gland on day 5. It stimulates the ovaries to stimulate the follicles, but only one of the follicles matures. So only one egg actually matures. Estrogen stimulates the endometrium to thicken and receive a thick supply of blood, and this stage lasts approximately 10 days. After the follicle stage, we enter the ovulation stage. The pituitary stops the follicle stimulating hormone since the ovum has already matured and it has been secreted. So the pituitary stops the follicle stimulating hormone, and it starts the secretion of the luteinizing hormone. And this occurs between day 14 and day 15. And with this hormonal combination, because there's still FSH within the blood, so the combination of follicle stimulating hormone, the luteinizing hormone, and estrogen that is found in the blood, this causes the mature follicle to break, thus releasing the mature egg. After the ovulation stage, we have the luteal phase, which occurs after ovulation. So the luteinizing hormone, or LH, caused the ruptured follicle to divide and forming the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum then secretes progesterone, and progesterone is also known as the pregnancy hormone because it helps the female maintain the pregnancy or sustain the pregnancy within the uterus. This lasts 14 days. If the egg is not fertilized, then LH is decreased by the pituitary, and then thus progesterone is also decreased, causing the lining of the endometrium to thin and to start to break down, and this is what causes menstruation. In actuality, the first day of your period, that is counted as day 1. Next is the male reproductive system. We have testes and epididymis. Starting with the testes. The testes produce the sperm, and it also produces the hormone testosterone within the interstitial cells. It lies in the scrotum, which is outside of the abdominal pelvic cavity, where the temperature is slightly lower than the inside of the body. The lower temperature, what that does, it optimizes the sperm production. Next is the epididymis. Okay, so within the testes lie within the scrotum, which lie on the outside of the male body. And again, this is just for temperature control. So within the testes, the sperm are initially formed. Then they move into the epididymis, where they actually mature. So the epididymis is an elongated structure on the posterior lateral surface of the testes that caps on the superior side of the testes. If you can see there on the diagram, the epididymis kind of lies on top and then to the side as well of the testes. This is the first portion of the duct system, and it provides the site for the maturation of sperm. Next is the ductus deferens. This is also known as the vas deferens. So upon ejaculation, sperm is received here from the epididymis by peristalsis. It passes through the canal into the pelvic cavity and superior over the bladder. Enclosed within the spermatic cord, this muscle encases the testes and elevates or lowers them to maintain the temperature needed to create sperm. Then it empties into the ejaculatory duct. Continuing with the male reproductive system, the penis. The penis is the male copulatory organ. It lies external along with the scrotum and is designed to deliver sperm to the female reproductive tract. The prostate. The prostate circles around the urethra and secretes a milky fluid that coagulates semen. This works to help activate the sperm because it encircles the urethra, as we can see here from the diagram. If the prostate becomes enlarged due to cancer or due to other factors, men will have a difficult time urinating, and that's usually the first indication that the prostate gland is inflamed. The bulbourethral glands, they produce approximately 5% of the fluid semen. So semen is composed of fluid as well as sperm. So they're two different. Sperm is the gamete and semen is the liquid where the sperm are in. So the bulbourethral glands, they help to produce about 5% of this fluid. They're pea-shaped and very small. They produce a thick, clear, alkaline secretion mucus that drains into the urethra. So this secretion of the bulbourethral gland is intended to wash away any urine out of the urethra when the ejaculation of semen occurs, as well as act as a buffer to the female reproductive tract, which is an acidic environment. So the semen does provide kind of like an alkaline environment for the sperm, and that helps to neutralize once the semen enters the female reproductive tract. So the alkalinity neutralizes the acidity found in the female vagina. We're going to quickly go over some of the STDs, or sexually transmitted diseases, starting with chlamydia. Chlamydia is caused by bacteria Chlamydia trachomatis. It causes urethritis, which is inflammation of your urethra, vaginitis, inflammation of the vagina, as well as causing pelvic inflammatory disease. About 80% of women and 25% of men have no symptoms. You're usually tested for, especially females, upon pregnancy. You do get a gonorrhea and chlamydia test due to the asymptomatic of these conditions. One of the symptoms includes painful urination as well as pain within the pelvic region. Next is human papillomavirus, or HPV. This is the most common sexually transmitted disease that is out there. It causes warts, depending on which viral type is actually contracted. It can lead to oral, cervical, and penile cancers. There's about 100 related cancers. 40 of these types of viruses are sexually transmitted. They can also be skin-to-skin contact. Next is syphilis. Syphilis is caused by a bacteria called Treponema pallidum. It is cured by an antibiotic, and it is also a skin-to-skin contact disease. And it occurs in 3 stages. If it's not treated in the initial stage, then the disease does progress to the 2nd and the 3rd stage. So stage 1 begins within 3 to the 90 day of exposure, and usually there's a sore that is associated with this. In stage 2, this happens 4 to 10 weeks after the exposure, and those sores that happen within the genital area, they spread throughout the whole body. Stage 3, this happens 3 to 15 years after the initial infection, and at this stage it can infect your internal organs as well as go to the brain and cause death. Just a fun fact here, it may have killed Christopher Columbus. And the last STD that we're going to be covering is genital herpes. 80% of people that are infected with genital herpes don't know that they have the virus, since they may have mild to no symptoms at all. Approximately between 1 in every 3 adults has the virus that causes genital herpes. That's a very high amount. Oral herpes, also known as cold sores, is caused by the herpes simplex virus 1 and is commonly transmitted to the genitals through oral to genital contact. Up to 50% of the genital herpes is caused by the oral cold sore type of herpes simplex. Just on a side note, genital herpes is caused by HSV2 or herpes simplex virus 2, whereas a cold sore on the mouth is caused by herpes simplex virus 1. The symptoms of genital herpes vary enormously. It can show up as blisters or sores, but it can also produce a mild rash. And whatever symptoms do appear may be on the thighs, on the back of the thighs, in your fingers, and of course the genitals. I hope that you have enjoyed today's lesson on the reproductive system. As you approach your work this week, please refer back to this lesson, the interactives within your classroom, and performing your own research utilizing the UMA library. Thank you.